Hi, everyone. Rich Hall here again. I'm joined today by Michael Liebowitz, who is the CEO of Magnetic Mind Studio. Now, Michael is an expert in the field of behavioral neurology and communication. So what does that mean? Well, we're told in the marketing world that if you want to target prospects, you need to touch them at least 7 times, right? Well, Michael works with clients to be able to create a value proposition, as he calls a hell yeah value, in the first meeting. So I hope you'll join us. It's a great presentation. I've heard Michael speak multiple times. This one is from a mastermind group that I run. So if you like it, feel free to reach out to Michael. We'll have the information at the end of the video, like our YouTube channel. And as always, love to hear your feedback. Stay tuned.
All right. Thank you, Rich. And hello, everybody. It's good to be here with you. Let me just make sure I got all my things in the right place. Fantastic. All right. Let's get going. Your hell yeah value proposition. This is a very nice thing to say to someone. It's a very nice thing to have said to you. And we all understand its context, its meaning, and what someone's trying to communicate. But let's say the same thing, but we're going to change the words. Suddenly, the understanding of what you're trying to say got a little muddy, didn't it? In fact, if we put comma Mr. Bond after this, it's now, you're starting to imagine a Belgian accent just before the lasers kick in. So this is what we're going to be talking about, is how to precisely use language to great effect for your business. Okay, because the language we use determines how we are understood. And I'm going to show you how to communicate effectively so that instead of contacting them 7 times, you kind of get it in the first one. So who am I to be saying all this? My background is behavioral neurology and linguistics. My game is messaging strategy and value articulation. And as you can probably guess by now, I absolutely love language. Absolutely love. I will nerd out over this word or that word. Don't worry, we're not going to do that today. But really what we're going to be talking about today is answering this one question. How do we get this to happen, right? What do you need to say? In fact, most of my clients come to me and I ask them, like, what are you looking for? And essentially whatever they say is some version of, I have no idea what to say, and how to communicate and relate the understanding of what I know about my business into their head. Well, you can imagine this has a great impact on our marketing in all these areas, on our conversations, including networking meetings like this, and all the lovely 30-second infomercials you all gave at the beginning. And of course, our sales. These are all moments in all these different permutations of being in front of an audience. What are you going to say? Is it going to be effective? And is it going to land them to a place where their brain goes, oh, I want this. I'm going to say yes to this. So how do we work? Okay, hands raised for all of you who woke up this morning thinking, oh gosh, I hope I get to be in a presentation where they show me gazelle. Anyone? Anyone? No? Okay, just me. Well, these gazelle are key to understanding what's going on in the mind of your audience when they are making the decision to buy. So let's go deeper. When you saw the behavioral neurology up above, of course, I was going to show a slide looking like this, right? Well, this is our human brain, and we're going to metaphorically divide the human brain into 2 parts. Upstairs, we have the human brain, and the human brain does pretty much what you expect a human brain to be doing. This is where we do logic and reason and thousands of other operations that we think of as making us human. Altogether, we're going to call this rational, and down below, we're going to call this the critter brain. The critter brain does 2 things and does 2 things only. It's been doing them since you were very, very, very young. It does emotion and it does survival, and that's it. And you can imagine how expert we've come at especially survival. Congratulations. You've all done it so far really, really well. Pat yourself on the back. We're going to talk about survival here. Now, in the chat, real quick, between making a rational decision or a survival decision, which one do you think we're going to favor? Any guesses? Just put that in the chat. I see one. Okay, survival, a lot of survival. Some rational, survival. The answer is survival. Okay? We are all the proud descendant of some long ago ancestor who, when walking across the plain, did not turn to the right and say, oh, I wonder if that lion is hungry, right? We all ran away real fast. That's how we are around to be rational. Our brain is designed to make survival decisions first, every single time. And one of the primary ways our brain is designed to maintain our survival is to make sure we surround ourselves with like kind. Whoopsie, went the wrong way. Like kind. Here's our gazelle, right? We are designed to want to be around people who are like ourselves. This even works for the products we buy. I don't get that into that territory in this presentation, but it also influences the products we buy. And I guess the occasional gazelle too that we like hanging around with. Because to this part of the brain, it says, I don't want me to die. Therefore, things like me probably don't want me to die either. And this makes perfect sense to the critter brain. It has no access to logic. That's all in the human brain. So that's what's operating. But what it also means is that anything that our critter brain determines to be not like kind is now coded to be a potential threat to survival. And those are the only two choices our brain gives us. You're like kind, or you might kill me. Again, this is critter brain. It has no access to real or not real. It just does survival and emotion. So given this is the case, how do we create like kind, right? That's the name of the game. How do we create, by the way, like kind is the neurology of trust. We trust people when we notice that they are like ourselves. So how do we get there? Well, we no longer have horns or spots on our fur to let anyone know that we are the same gazelle, but we have something that we believe is uniquely human. And this is what our critter brain is using to determine like kind. It is our own identity, right? Our sense of who we are, and just as importantly, who we are not. So there we are, noticing each other's identities, and we feel safe around the ones that match our own, and unsafe around the ones that don't. But you can imagine, if you're out there in business, vibing off, I'm unsafe, there's no way someone's going to buy from you. Right? Makes sense. So here's how the whole thing works. Your audience takes in whatever you are communicating, and believe me, everything is communication. Whether it's intentional or not, everything that they can witness of you is communication. The first thing they do is they want to make an identity match. Are you like kind or not? And whichever way that answer goes, by the way, this happens in about half a second. Whichever way that answer goes, it gets kicked upstairs to the human brain, which merely justifies the decision, right? That the critter brain has already made. It wraps a story around this decision, which comes from the critter brain in the form of an emotion, right? It only does survival and emotion. And then we output into behavior. And of course, the behavior we're looking for is to smash that buy button. Two main things I want you to understand from this whole neurology. Number one, right here, this like kind, this is where the yes lives. The critter brain's in charge of the bus. It's where all our decision-making starts. Is this survivable or not? And you as a business owner have control of only one part of this whole neurology. And that's right there at the beginning. What are you communicating? And my goal is to make sure you're communicating deliberately, intentionally, and effectively so that you can make this whole system go your way. All right, so to that end, here are the two most important things your audience needs to know about your business. So let's go back to this frame, human brain and critter brain. Yes, the decision is being made in the critter brain, but we need to communicate to both parts. So let's start with the human brain, because this is the one that most people default to, right? When we talk about our features and benefits. Those are logical arguments and only the human brain can hear them. We give our audience a lot of information about how to justify a decision, but almost nothing about how to make the decision in the first place. But The one thing, the human brain level communication that is so prized above all else is this. What's the main outcome I get? This is your audience asking you. It's one main outcome. And a word about outcomes are kind of tricky little things, they're slippery. But Theodore Levitt, who's a professor at Harvard Business School, said it best. People don't want a quarter-inch drill. What they want is a quarter-inch hole, right? Now, you might be in the business of selling the drill, and that's what you delivered. But what you delivered isn't always the outcome, right? So what is the main outcome I get from working with you? And down below, the primary critter brain communication that they need to know right now is, do we share the same beliefs? When you heard the saying, they have to know, like, and trust you before they'll buy. Well, what's happening in those 7 touches before they buy is it's the critter brain noticing that I've been around you or I've been engaged with you somehow 7 times and I haven't died yet. So probably the 8th, I'm okay, right? That's literally what's going on. But when you share what you believe, this is the key to identity. Identities are just beliefs that start with the words I am. So when you share what you believe, you're giving the critter brain everything it needs to know if you are like, kind, or not. And you could jump to the head of the line of those 7 touches, and you create near instant trust. So these are the 2 main things that you need to be communicating when you talk about your business. Now, what's the main outcome I get? Why is this important? This is what they're actually buying. They're not buying the thing you're selling them. They're buying the outcome they get from it. Okay? So be very clear on the outcome. Now, you might have competition who's also clear on the outcome. You might have competition who does the same thing you do, who's not clear on the outcome as you are, and you're ahead of the game. Good for you. But other people can communicate it just as well. So you do have competition here. But here's the name of the game. Belief. This is why they're going to buy it from you and not anyone else. When you connect with someone on a belief, the creator brain says safe, and it loads up the happy juice, the serotonin, the whatever you want to call it, the neurochemicals that signal to the human brain, this is amazing, this is good, justify it all you need to, but we're buying this thing. And if you make them guess at it, when you're not being clear about your identity, your beliefs, you're relying on their history of life, which you have no control over, to make the right connections. And honestly, they're going to default to a no. You made me work for it. So be clear about the identity. So here are the 2 questions you need to be asking yourself to get to these things. Number 1, what do they get when they got what I gave them? What do they actually have now? Sometimes it is the thing you deliver. This is usually the trades, usually, right? Not always, but usually. And not all trades. General contractors are different. And then how come this is important to you? This is the main question, and it's not an easy question to answer. But the answer to this question is always a belief. Whether it's the most salient belief, I work with my clients on this. We dig into this question many, many times and find it. But this is how to get there. All right, everything clear so far? Can see some of you, I see some nodding heads, good. So here's how to apply it. Now that you've got those 2, here's how to apply it. Really quick, here you see this bullseye. This off-center target, everyone instantly understands what you do the exact same way. If you think this is answered in the affirmative, no matter where you are on the planet, you start with the belief. When someone says, what do you do? And let's go back to the trades again, says, oh, I'm a roofer. No matter where you are on the planet, people get what you do, right? In the exact same way. There's no ambiguity, right? That person usually, again, usually the trades and some others start with the belief. Anyone else, you start with the outcome first, and then you follow up with the belief, okay? This is the main outcome, and here's what's true about this whole frame. Now, the further away you get from that center of everyone instantly understands, The language has to become more and more simple. The closer in, even if you're not quite, everyone understands it the exact same way, you can use some inside baseball because, in terminology, because there's some common understanding of the frame, right? Some marketing can be in this place and many in some other businesses. And then way out there on the edge, there's no relationship between understanding what you do in any kind of context. Now we're in metaphor land, right? Not everyone is over there. In fact, a minority of businesses are over there, but occasionally it comes up. Just want to point out, like, if you think you're in that business where, boy, I'm doing something so original and new, no one understands it, you have to communicate via metaphor first, and then come back to the outcome and then believe. Okay, give you an example of this. All right, I want everyone to come off mute for a second. Look at this web page and give me some words that, if this were a person, right? What's the identity you are noticing here? Just shout some words out. What's the identity? Woo, with an echo.
The emphasis on family.
Family, okay. What kind of a person is this, right? That if this website were a person, and anything you have to say is fine.
Caring.
Caring, good.
Nurturing.
Nurturing, fantastic, thank you. Now, when you think of getting plumbing done, do you think of caring, nurturing, and family? Not so much. It's a bit of a disconnect. Thank you all very much. It's a bit of a disconnect, and that's exactly what this business was noticing. It's a disconnect in the type of jobs they wanted, but they were getting the kind of jobs that aligned, if you can think of it that way, with this type of identity. They were getting just like basic dripping, like leaky faucet and clogged drains. And they had to get a lot of those jobs. Even though they loved all their customers, they had to do a lot of those jobs to maintain this business, because those are low value, low dollar jobs. And it's also not the type of work they really wanted to be doing. So the main belief in this business, because everyone understands the outcome the same way, we believe in attention to detail because things should be built right. Okay, let's communicate in a way that expresses this identity. This is a perfect weld. It will last for decades. You'll never see it, but we put it in your wall anyway. Do you want this person coming over to fix a leak, or do you want them tearing out a wall and fixing some plumbing? This is because those are the types of jobs they were getting now, right? Same company, same people, but how they communicate is different, and the identities they communicate are different. And it changed the perception people had of them. And they started getting the types of calls they wanted. All right, finally, sales conversations. How do you land the sale? Well, generally speaking, any sales guru will tell you it follows these steps. First, you start with some light rapport, get to know each other, right? Then you're going to spend all your time on their need. And then you want to talk about your solution as it relates to what they told you about their need. And of course, there's the ask. Notice that gap between their need and your solution. There is something missing from the commonly understood sales conversation. And it is this. I call it the belief transition. When you identify the main belief supporting your business, this is where you put it. You get everything about what they want. What are their needs? What does it mean to them? What change in their life will this have for them? You say, thank you. And then you're going to want to say how I can solve your problem. Here's all the things I can do. Here's all my features, my benefits. Oh my gosh, hire me, right? Stop. The first thing you're going to do is just tell them what you believe. Because when you do, the belief frames everything that comes after that, right? The plumbing guys that you just saw. What do you need? I need all this done. Fantastic. Instead of saying, well, we do X, Y, and Z, in other words, do you want to buy our plumbing services? They stop and they say, okay, here's what we're all about. For us, really, it's all about attention to detail, because we just think everything should be built right. And we're not going to leave this house until we're certain that we've built everything right. Let me show you how we're going to do that. Now, when they talk about their solution, they're not talking about the things they do. or the things they deliver, they're talking about a commonly held belief that your customer already said yes to, because you share the same belief. And anyone that doesn't share that same belief, you'll be able to notice it. And you know you're no longer in a sales conversation. You don't have to waste your time. You can shift into a different kind of conversation. Maybe you're actually in a referral conversation. Who knows? Right? But beliefs will frame everything that comes after it. And then the ask is not, hey, do you want the things I just told you about that I do? The ask becomes, do you continue to want to fulfill on this belief that we share? It's not about, do you want my plumbing service? It's about, do you want things built right? That's the real question. Does everyone see how that makes a difference? Excellent. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. This has been fun, and I'm going to leave this up here because I want to give everyone, this will make sense in a second. This is how you get on my calendar, spend 30 minutes with me.